I want to talk to you about sunscreen real quick. I was at the pool yesterday. I swim laps every day up in Ojai, and it's a non-chlorinated pool. So it's,
Wow.
It's ozonated and it's great. And so I just swim laps, and the only thing I worry about though is how much sunscreen people are just lathering on themselves all day. And there was this guy who was right next to me, 2 lanes over, and I seen he's attractive and fit, probably upper 40s, and like he just takes this spray bottle of whatever it was, Banana Boat, any of these brands, and he's spraying himself in the face like he's getting maced. And then he's spraying his whole body and just keeps spraying it. I'm inhaling it. I'm getting secondhand suntan lotion. And I can't imagine what he's doing as well. Paul, I know you don't wear conventional sunscreen, and you don't even wear sunglasses either when you're outdoors. Can you maybe talk about why you avoid those sunscreens, and also why do you avoid sunglasses?
Yeah, so there's an interesting conversation here. Why do we put on sunscreen? We believe that it prevents skin cancer. The research actually doesn't support this. This is not terribly controversial. You can look at a meta-analysis, which is a study of studies. I believe the one that I'm thinking of has over 300 studies of sunscreen, and sunscreens don't actually appreciably lower the incidence of skin cancer. How crazy is that? So what's going on with sunscreen? You are taking either a spray or a lotion which contains molecules, octobenzone, avobenzone, octocrylene, homosalate, as examples, which we know are absorbed through the skin into the body. They are excreted in our poop and our pee. And all of those molecules I listed have been linked to cancers and endocrine disruption in the body, other types of issues in the human body, not necessarily skin cancers. And so we are knowingly, intentionally putting compounds that are hormone disrupting onto our skin that go through our whole body with the hope that somehow this is protecting me from an ultraviolet ray or affecting my skin cancer incidence. But if you look at the studies, it doesn't really work out that way. There are 3 types of skin cancers. There's melanoma, squamous, and basal. If we talk about melanoma, it's not even really mostly associated with the sun. If you get a very bad sunburn, which is something most of us know we should avoid just intuitively, maybe that raises your risk of melanoma. But if you look at outdoor workers who have chronic moderate to low-level exposure, they are protected against melanoma. Most melanoma occurs in areas, or many melanomas occur in areas which don't see the sun. I think Bob Marley died of melanoma on the bottom of his foot. Nobody's tanning the bottom of their feet much, right? And certainly I don't think Bob Marley was out there sun worshiping. So the most fear-inducing skin cancer is the melanoma, probably not associated with sun, doesn't look to be associated with sun at all. There are some studies that associate increased consumption of seed oils with increased incidence of melanoma. We need more studies like that. Specifically, I'm thinking of a study done in Australia that looked at levels of linoleic acid in the fatty tissue, and linoleic acid is coming from seed oils primarily. Higher rates of melanoma associated with that. It makes sense. Seed oils, which I think we've talked about on previous podcasts here, are these fragile oils, especially this linoleic acid, a polyunsaturated fat. So it makes sense that if you put more of that into your body through your mouth, that it could accumulate in the dermis and epidermis, these skin layers, and make them more susceptible to sunlight. In fact, I think that one piece of the equation with skin cancer that never really gets talked about is the idea of how does what you eat affect how your skin looks, how you age, and how susceptible are you to sunburn. If you go on X, and I've done this a few times, and you just take a crowdsourced opinion, did you sunburn less or more when you cut seed oils out of your diet? I will invariably get hundreds of responses, and they all have the same response. I burned so much less when I cut seed oils out of my life. This is a very common anecdote, a very common human experience that I think needs to be studied. It makes sense mechanistically. In animal studies, if we feed animals, either rats or mice, linoleic acid, so this polyunsaturated fat rich in seed oils, if we feed them diets that are rich in linoleic acid, they do have more damage when exposed to ultraviolet light at the level of their skin. And there are specific studies done in the dermatology community where dermatologists take sort of in vivo models. They'll take, it's called tape stripping. They'll take the stratum corneum of the skin, the outer layer of the skin, on a piece of tape. They'll use it as sort of an in vivo model of human skin. And they will expose that stratum corneum, which is the outer layer of skin, to linoleic acid. And you see increased markers of inflammation when they do that. So there are lots of pieces of evidence pointing to the fact that what we consume and maybe even what we put on our skin affects the susceptibility of our skin to sun damage. So I understand where this gentleman is coming from, spraying sunscreen on himself at the pool. I don't think spray sunscreen should be legal because you do end up secondhand smoking other people out. It happens a lot of places like Barton Springs in Austin. I think about it all the time. I inhale a lot of sunscreen, which I definitely don't want to be inhaling.
Yeah.
But then there's not really a conversation. I mean, what is this guy to do? I think photo aging is real. And I think the quality of food we eat probably affects the rate at which our skin ages. So from a photo aging perspective, maybe from a skin cancer perspective, the argument is a little harder to make. Maybe the argument is, develop a solar callus, which is something that we can do if we're outside in higher ultraviolet environments in the morning and the evening when there's not as much UV. The melanin in the skin will increase and we do have some natural protection, or wear layers of clothing that protect us. There are also, I think, the better options for us if we're worried about this photo aging issue is the chemical free sunscreen, so the mineral sunscreens. And so that's what I would use. And
zinc oxide.
Yeah, non-nano zinc oxide with a base of tallow, hopefully, and not a base of seed oils. And there are more and more of these companies making sort of mineral-based sunscreens, which look okay. The other mineral that is sometimes in the sunscreens, I believe, is titanium dioxide, and I would avoid that. We saw that on one of the food labels we were looking about earlier. I would use zinc oxide before I would use a titanium dioxide sunscreen for a mineral sunscreen. So yeah, next time you need to bring some like tallow-based zinc oxide to this fellow at the pool. And the other piece of it, if you're in a pool and he's spraying it on himself,
yes,
you're getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it's a giant pool, it's still getting in that whole milieu of, I'm in the sunscreen stew at this point. And Savvy D and I, we were up in the farmer's market in Ojai, and there's a gal there who sells a tallow-based sunscreen locally. She's from there. And there are people like me, I don't know what your Fitzpatrick score is. Mine's probably a 1.5 or something. I'm relatively pale, but I can tan now because I cut seed oils out. You mentioned that.
Interesting.
I haven't burned since I cut seed oils out. And anecdotally, there was a time where I brought them back in because I needed to do some black seed oil for my gut. And immediately I started burning.
Wow.
Same day or next day, I started burning. And so I just had to be way more careful when I was out in the sun while I was consuming that for that month. And I was like, I'm not burning at all anymore. But then I was. And so for someone like me who has less melanin in my skin, it might make sense to wear one of those sunscreens, but it is more natural and it's not one of these chemicals. And it's certainly not one of these aerosol cans we're spraying ourselves with.
Yeah.
Tell me why you don't wear sunglasses.
We talked at the beginning earlier in this podcast about circadian rhythms and in training your circadian rhythm. To be fair, my eyes are green-brown. I don't have blue eyes. But a lot of times, I mean, even when I was recently in Miami for a couple of months, I would go out first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and go on the trail by the ocean, go in the ocean, maybe do a little workout by the ocean on the beach. And there would be, almost everyone is wearing sunglasses at 7 or 8 in the morning.
Right.
And so the argument for sunglasses is different throughout the day, right? So in the morning, it's less intense sunlight. That's when you really want all of those visible wavelengths, that really essentially ultraviolet free light, and that infrared light from the sun to go into your eyes, to be transmitted through your optic nerves to your brain, to a little part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And that's part of how you entrain your circadian clock. That's how you entrain your daily clock. So wearing sunglasses in the morning actually can harm our ability to manage hormonal balance throughout the day, manage antioxidant status throughout our body, because that all starts with our eyes and our brain. And then even our sleep onset can be affected by using the sunglasses too early in the morning. During the day, there's a little bit more of an argument for sunglasses depending where you are. Certainly if you're on the water fishing and you have a lot of reflective energy, I get it, right? Maybe there's a role for it. But I think most of us, even on cloudy days, are wearing sunglasses all through the day. And if you're not having to squint, if your eyes are really okay, let the sunlight come into your eyes. That's normal and probably healthy for us as humans. There are some theories, I think this needs more research to bear it out, that there is a connection, and this has been somewhat substantiated by research. There's a connection between the eyes and the skin. And so the hypothesis is, okay, if you are not letting your eyes tell your skin that you are exposed to sunlight, is your skin able to respond to the sunlight in the same way? And so that's a compelling hypothesis that I hope we can test more in the future. The idea would be wearing sunglasses confuses your body. You think it's night and your body doesn't actually mount the same defensive responses or the same adaptive responses at the level of your skin that you would normally. So I'm, this isn't to say I don't sometimes wear a hat, right? I'll put a hat to shade my eyes if I'm in a bright, sunny day in the middle of the day and I don't want the sun shining directly in my eyes, but I want to get as much of the full spectrum, non-flickering sunlight in my eyes throughout the day, both for circadian rhythm entrainment and potential connections between the eyes, the circuit with the brain, and the skin. So I think most of us are overusing sunglasses. They look cool. And in LA, it's like a staple.
Right. My sunglasses, my cigarettes, my coffee, my alcohol, I'm good to go. Maybe it's Paul Saladino ruins everything, but I'm better off for it. and that's often the way I think about it, because as soon as I see this, I can't unsee it in a way. I do have a pair of sunglasses in my car. If there's a whole bunch of reflection somewhere, I'll wear them from time to time, like maybe 2-3 times a year. But they're there. And I've found that since I found you, I just stopped wearing sunglasses and you adapt to it. And at first you're like squinting, like, oh, I could never. And it's so much better without them. And by the way, I don't have to have another accoutrement that I'm carrying around with me with all my other stuff. And Paul can't do that because there's a whole bag of meat and fruit and strawberries. There's no room for the sunglasses.
No, I'm minimalist.
I hope you enjoyed that highlight from the Minimalist Private Podcast. If you'd like another highlight, check out this video. If you'd like to watch the minimal episode, check out this video. Or if you'd like to dive deep into full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, head on over to Patreon. The link is in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.